How come this, what is beginning as a skirmish but could rapidly deteriorate into something more, how come it's not having more of an impact on the oil market?
Well, it's everything in the commodities market is supply and demand. So if this situation, as you say, if it spirals, if it gets much worse, that will affect supply to be sure. But look at the demand. Demand at the moment is, it's reasonably steady. And 2019 was a year of actually remarkable sort of steadiness in the oil market overall, a relatively lack of volatility. There's plenty of supply out there. There's plenty of supply from the US. US supply is at record levels. We've just seen the US become, for a second consecutive month, a net exporter of crude oil. So the world is still awash with crude. And whatever happens in the Middle East, you go back to what we saw in September when we had the attacks on the Saudi refinery. Deep in Saudi Arabia, widely speculated that it was Iran that made that attack. The price rocketed up, but within just over 2 weeks, the price went right back down again. So you can see the market sort of shrugging that off. And at the moment, it's still kind of shrugging off what's going on in Iraq, although it's still watching it very closely.
Is there a line I can draw, Simon, between the Abqaiq attack and what is happening now? I guess, is that how the oil market perceives this, as potentially providing another catalyst for a similar attack? That was the biggest attack. That was one of the biggest events in oil market history, that attack. It completely changed the game in so many ways.
It did and it didn't, though. I mean, if you look at the price, it was a tremendous price spike, and I think most of us can remember that weekend. It was a tremendous shock. We came in on Monday, the market went crazy, but it settled down very, very quickly. The aftermath was getting back to normal. Saudi production, after a lot of initial concern that it might be impacted for months on end, it stabilized very quickly. And the conversation shifted back once more to macro concerns. Will demand continue to soften? Trade, and obviously in the last few weeks we've seen some more positive news on trade. And then OPEC, and subsequent to that attack, we had an OPEC meeting. There was an agreement among OPEC Plus to extend the cutbacks that they were already trying to implement. And overall, the latest news that we've seen, the updates from OPEC members, has been that Saudi Arabia continues to implement those cuts. It was an overachiever in that regard last year. We've seen other countries come through and implement some of those cuts as well. So that's kind of helped to underpin the price. And really the conversation day to day much more focuses on that and demand and the impacts of the trade war. So while you can't discount what's going on in the Middle East, we never can. Of course, it could be a tremendous sort of black swan event just around the corner, who knows. But we've got to be realistic about this at the same time. The world has fairly plentiful supply at the moment, and the price has been range bound for the past year.